19-year-old Canadian Ashley Wadsworth is found dead in Chelmsford, England.
All the messages said, "Hey, it's Ashley, I need your help. It's an emergency, like, get in contact with me, please."
She said, "I think we have your daughter. I think we found a body. I'm sorry, but it's your daughter."
She's been murdered. Is the killer her lover?
I just miss you so much, Jack.
It would have felt like she's potentially interacting with her own Prince Charming, who lives overseas.
Oh, my timber coming back.
So initially, he was arrested for inflicting grievous bodily harm.
Detectives want to prove murder. Their challenge to ensure suspect Jack Sepple can't use a legal loophole.
He claimed to have gone, to use his words, psychotic, and somebody suffering from psychosis can avail themselves of diminished responsibility.
Detectives gather evidence until a picture of a suspect emerges. Which piece of the puzzle will reveal who is guilty of murder? What will be a killer's mistake? There's been an overnight storm. Police are called to a home in Chelmsford, Essex, in England.
The reason the police turned up at the house was because these friends who were going round there were concerned.
19-year-old Canadian Ashley Wadsworth has been staying at the address.
Ashley sent text messages to two of her friends who were also members of the Mormon church that she'd joined having arrived in Chelmsford. And one of the messages was asking them to go because she needed help.
As paramedics arrive at the scene, they find Ashley in bed.
The police officers tried to carry out CPR on Ashley, and at that stage, it wasn't absolutely obvious or clear whether she was still alive or actually dead.
But it soon becomes clear Ashley has been brutally attacked. She's lifeless.
Whenever the police have a murder scene, the first thing they do is seal it off to preserve the integrity of the scene. And they then instruct a forensic scientist to come and examine the scene. They used a very experienced forensic scientist who examined the entirety of the house, because not only are the police looking for a cause of death, they're trying to recreate as best they can, reenact the events that took place leading up to the death. And the forensic scientist's conclusion was that the assault took place in the bedroom. Ashley was in the bedroom, on the bed at the time, and didn't move. The knife that was consistent with the size of the stab wounds was found behind a radiator in the bedroom, not far from the bed. So we can be pretty confident that that was the murder weapon.
Police must uncover the truth behind Ashley Wadsworth's murder. Simon Spence will soon present evidence to a jury about a victim stranded thousands of miles from her family.
One of the aspects of this case, which was particularly difficult and sensitive, was the liaison with the family, because obviously Ashley had a very large, very close family in Canada.
It's not the smallest city in British Columbia. You'd have to drive through swaths of the province and the mountains before you hit the next really big city.
Born in Vernon, investigators learn of Ashley's happy upbringing.
Ashley was a dream child, very self-sufficient, learned everything without me showing her. Very bright, always never shy, wanting to see the world. And she was fierce, loyal, always wanting to stick up for her sister, her friends. me, yeah, she was just a delight, really.
Look how young this makes you.
We were always friends. And then, like, when I had my daughter, we were, like, best friends as we got older. And, yeah, we've always been friends. We were sisters.
Ashley, though, always dreams of a life beyond her remote hometown.
She always wanted to leave, like, Vernon. It's such a small, like, close-knit town that it's, like, it becomes boring. It's not geared towards younger people. She just always wanted to go somewhere else.
It's a video.
We would watch a lot of documentaries, me and Ashley, on British history and especially England, and we just loved Harry Potter. And so that whole rainy, foggy, London streets, that was just something that we both had a passion for.
As detectives piece together Ashley's love affair with England, they uncover that it's more than just landmarks and the weather that draws her there.
I became aware of Jack when we were about 12 years old in grade 8.
When just 12 years old, Ashley forges an online relationship with Jack Sepple, a British 15-year-old from Chelmsford in Essex.
She had told me that she had met him through a girl we knew in school who she was friends with, and that he was from the UK, and that he was just like the nicest guy ever, and she thought he was cute.
It would be really exciting for a really young girl like Ashley to be meeting this slightly older boy.
At first I was like, well, who's this guy? And I wanted to make sure it wasn't some older man in his living room pretending to be. So I did speak to Jack, and yeah, he was young too at the time, and so I was like, okay.
With open and transparent access to each other's lives, Ashley and Jack are drawn into intimacy, but also to potential risks.
Digital technologies let us get access into each other's lives in a much more intimate way than you could before.
Like every teen girl, she was on the phone a lot, and especially by grade 8, making TikToks and Snapchats.
You can share every moment of your day, you can share what you're eating, who you're spending time with, without the person needing to be physically present to bring them into your world.
Happy birthday to you. Tell me when you get out.
As police delve for the background behind the death of Ashley, they learn how the love match between her and Jack Sepple accelerated from September 2018, her 16th birthday, a time for British royal family watching.
Around this time, Prince Harry and Prince William were often in the news in Canada, and so it would have been felt like she's potentially interacting with her own Prince Charming, who lives overseas. This was a real relationship that he formed. Jack wanted a real relationship with her.
I knew she was smitten with him. She really had at first a crush, and then always, I want to go to England.
Just miss you so much, Jack. Love you so much.
An ocean and 4,500 miles had been no obstacle. Sepple had wooed a girl with a teenage crush, and she loved it.
So he would buy her stuff, so it would come to the door, delivery through Amazon, and she would be so excited, and a little teddy bear with I love you. And then she had a picture made in the mall here. A guy was doing sketches of Jack and Ashley, and she had it framed and paid money for. I was like, wow, like, are you ever gonna give this to him? She's like, oh, I will one day.
She's experiencing all of this with someone who has kind of 24 access to her through their internet connections and constantly be sending these reinforcing positive messages to one another.
Ashley is 16 and Jack is 19 at this time. Detectives believe that the age difference makes Ashley more vulnerable. Jack is easily able to manipulate the younger girl.
He can present himself as her Prince Charming and completely hide the darker aspects of himself, and she has limited windows into seeing what he's really like.
As the relationship progresses, detectives see signs of intimidating behavior from Jack.
Oh, my timber coming back.
Detectives find audio recordings of rants that he sent her, often about his other female friends.
This thing on my leg. I'm gonna. This leg. My leg. It's driving me crazy. I'm so ill. It's because of that friend.
You can really just hear so much rage and anger and volatility in his voice, the way he's talking in that voice message. It's really alarming to hear.
I'm gonna kill her. I'm gonna murder her.
Unpicking the background to the discovery of the body of Ashley Wadsworth points detectives to the period around March 2020, when both Canadian and UK governments announced lockdowns because of COVID.
From this evening, I must give the British people a very simple instruction. You must stay at home.
With no avenues to meet people in the real world, Ashley and Jack spend much more time together online.
I knew there was some infatuation there, and like, there was a bit of when he tattooed his name, which is a bit later, I think grade 11. And I was like, oh, well, and I did have some concerns, but I honestly didn't think they'd ever meet.
He would get like frustrated over the littlest things, like if she had been talking to another guy.
The fact that he's really jealous of her partners when they're not together suggests that he's very controlling and possessive of Ashley in a way that's unrealistic for someone who's living thousands and thousands of miles away.
Investigators learn that it's not just Ashley, thousands of miles away in Canada, who bears the brunt of Jack's aggression. Back home in England, Sepple often shows his family an ugly side.
He's also being verbally and physically abusive to his own mom and sister. His mom would get involved and ask Ashley to try and control Jack's behavior. To me, that's a really surprising element in this story. And it really suggests that people were putting a lot of onus on Ashley and a lot of expectations on her to control the behavior of someone whose life she's really only in peripherally.
His mom would reach out to her to say that they're not on speaking terms and she would like her to check on him. I would tell her, like, it's not worth your time.
As detectives delve deeper into the case, they uncover that it isn't just Jack's mother and sister who rely on Ashley for help. Another young woman is pulled into his dark world.
He was definitely dating this girl, and she had come over. Don't know if she was living there, but she was at his, wherever he was living, and he had locked her in the house for some reason and was being violent towards her. She had locked herself in the bathroom and contacted Ashley because she had a knowledge of who she was in their friendship or relationship and knew that she could potentially help and calm him down.
I think the fact that he has multiple relationships going on at the same time, where he's exhibiting these high levels of anger and control across quite a number of them, are really speaking to the volatility in his personality. This is a highly volatile young man. He's using jealousy to get control over the other women in his life.
Despite growing concerns, Ashley's family doesn't believe there's any imminent danger. They see the relationship as distant and confined to the online world.
They enjoyed talking with each other, and like they really just enjoyed each other's company, and like I got to see him, and like he would talk with me, and they would be nice, and it wasn't too bad.
Investigators, however, find messages between the couple which reveal that they had been planning a real-world future together.
In the lead up to Ashley telling her family that she's deciding to go to the UK, you can really see that the exchanges between them are really positive. They're focusing on having the opportunity to connect and cuddle in person. They can't wait to cuddle. He's calling her his future wifey if he's blessed enough.
But she was her own person, and she was an adult. I couldn't keep her passport legally, and I couldn't stop her, because at 19, she's fully allowed to do what she wants.
I'm going to England. I'm so excited.
She makes the big decision to take a gap year and go and have a really big adventure in the UK, which must feel tremendously exciting, and it might feel like a whole new world is opening up.
Even when she did decide, like, I want to go, but I did have my reservations, because you don't know someone as much as you think you do, and you can't know someone until you meet them.
I mean, Ashley must be so excited to finally have the opportunity to meet this man in person who she's known for almost a decade, but has never really had the opportunity to connect with in person. And so this must just seem like a fairy tale come true, that it's finally happening.
He told me and my mom on FaceTime before she left, like, I'll protect her and I'll guard her with my life. Like, I'll make sure she's good, and I'm like, okay, like, call if you ever have any problems and stuff. So, yeah, I trusted him at that point.
Ashley's family shares photos with investigators as they plot the timeline of her journey to England. Her trip in November 2021 appeared rich with promise.
And I said, text me when you get to Calgary for the transfer so I know that you made it to there, and then just text me along the way. And she said, okay, and she kissed my head and said, I love you, and I said, I love you. And then her sister and her dad drove her.
Ashley had arrived in London in November 2021. She was now 4,500 miles from her family's protection.
She messaged me as soon as she got off and they were together, and she kind of held her phone up and they did a smiley face, and yeah, they were hugging, and then she was texting me on the ride home, my God, he's so nice. I was happy that it went good the first meeting, that meeting. I mean, they had known each other for so long, I felt like we all knew him, really.
The couple explores London, with Ashley finally experiencing the architecture and centuries-old history that she has until now only seen on TV.
I tried to give her space, but we would talk at first every couple days, every day if she wanted, and she would show me, look at the cobble streets. Everything's like it said, look at this old building, Mom. Christmas, he bought a tree and got her the cat. She loves cats, so she was excited.
Ashley settles into life in the UK. In Canada, she had been drawn to the Mormon faith. She now connects with a Mormon church in Chelmsford, where she quickly becomes a bright, sociable presence, sharing images of her adventures with Jack. Her church contact, a North American missionary visiting the UK, has chosen to remain anonymous.
We had seen pictures on Facebook, like, of them visiting Big Ben and I think, like, Tower Bridge, exciting things like that. And she said that she had loved England. She loved meeting people. There was a lot of people her age within the congregation, and so she got to meet them, and that was really exciting. And she was excited to finally be back and feel the same feelings that she had felt when she was in Canada at church.
Bishop Eldon Powles is struck by how quickly Ashley connects with the church community.
In her energy, she was really nice, very bubbly, and keen to speak to other people, so she was outgoing. She clearly had connected with the missionaries that were talking to her, who had become her friends, really. And then there was someone who helped take her to church. One of our members in the congregation took her to church, and then there was people that were interacting with her. So she was really keen to get to know others.
Ashley's church friends, however, begin to notice something troubling.
Ashley had mentioned that she would need to ask for permission to meet with us even that day, to come to church with us on Sunday. And just as another 19-year-old girl, it was sort of a red flag. I wouldn't want to have to ask my boyfriend about if I could leave or if I could go somewhere with people that I knew. So we didn't think much of it, but it was something that we were just like, that is really interesting.
Messages presented to investigators reveal that by 2021, in December, the joy of Ashley's new life in England was fading.
You can really see the shift in Ashley's messages to her sister and to her friends, where it goes from being so excited about having seen Buckingham Palace and going to the Tower of London together to suddenly talking about with Sepple how he's been trying to control her during that time. So you can see the text messages where he's asking for her passwords to log into her social media, which isn't a normal thing to do.
I had heard from Haley that they weren't getting along, but I brought it up to her and she shut me down.
We had been texting and she had said, be careful what you say, you know, he's watching what we're saying. And so, like, in the back of my head, I was kind of like, well, this is a little odd.
As detectives learn more of Jack Sepple's background, they uncover evidence of his controlling behavior.
Unfortunately, Jack Sepple appeared to have problems with all of his previous partners.
Ashley couldn't have known, but Jack's disturbing behavior towards women goes beyond the online rants that she'd witnessed early in their relationship.
Jack Sepple had convictions for criminal damage, for assault. He'd been made the subject of a restraining order in relation to a previous partner, and there were a number of offences of breaching that restraining order by continuing to try and make contact with her. She was clearly somebody he was obsessed with. And one of the features of this case is that he set up a fake Facebook account and contacted her whilst he was seeing Ashley Wadsworth, and indeed whilst Ashley was living with him.
Ashley wouldn't necessarily have any idea that she's walking into this behavior. This isn't about one relationship. It's about maybe more his attitude towards all women and what he expects from them and how he expects them to do what he wants when he wants it.
Two months into her 6-month trip, and Ashley's mum notices a change.
In January, I started to hear from her less. She seemed solemn, sad, quieter, looking a little paler. She was trying, obviously, to protect the relationship, protect him, because I don't think she wanted me or her father to know fully.
Ashley and Jack's relationship is deteriorating. In January 2022, disturbing news reaches Canada.
Ashley called me right away. He took a bunch of pills of his, like, prescribed medication, and he took, like, the whole bottle, and then, like, she was freaking out because she was, like, trying to help him.
Whether it was a serious suicide attempt or just a cry for attention is perhaps difficult to say. But there certainly was an occasion when he self-harmed and was taken to hospital.
She was crying. She was really upset and worried about what was going on with him and that, like, he wasn't going to be okay.
After his overdose, Ashley's first thoughts are for Jack. Her family, however, is more concerned about Ashley.
My thoughts were telling her to come home, because, like, I just thought that was weird, like, a lot for her to have on her plate to take care of someone when she's only 19.
So I was like, well, do you want to come home? And she's like, well, no, I love him. I'm going to get him through this. So then Ashley, being who she was as a Mormon and wanting to help him.
Perhaps Ashley's faith inspires her to selflessly care for Jack after his release from the hospital. Yet around this time, her friends at the Church of the Latter-day Saints in Chelmsford sense that she is starting to have doubts.
So we know that in our church, we aren't just married here on this earth till death do you part. There's something called a temple sealing, where you can be sealed to your spouse for all time and eternity. And that can only happen if both of you are members of the church. She had mentioned that she had wanted to get sealed in the temple and that she knew that couldn't happen with him. And so it probably wasn't going to be him that she was going to end up with.
Ashley has every reason to fear her relationship with Jack Sepple. Detectives, when building their case, discover a folder of photographs on her social media account.
Ashley taking the steps to document the abuse really suggests that she knew she was in a bad situation. This is someone who's been isolated from her family by thousands of miles, is somewhat trapped in this place because of a pandemic, and she maybe just doesn't know what to do in a foreign country to get that kind of help and what services exist to her.
She called me and like Jack had smashed a glass over top of her head. And then I answered the phone and she was like screaming and crying and she was like, I have to clean all this up because like Jack just threw a glass at my head. I started crying and I told her like, you need to come home. We were on FaceTime and Jack had started throwing objects at her head, candles and like remotes and stuff at her, like on FaceTime with me, and he was like screaming through his like teeth. And he was like spitting and like throwing stuff.
Ashley did the right thing in coming forward and finally disclosing the violence that she was experiencing to her family. And they were really in a difficult position as well, being so far away, how they could best help and support her.
The violence takes a chilling turn. After physically striking Ashley, Jack Sepple, unbeknownst to her family, cruelly attacks the kitten that he had once given her as a gift.
Jack's willingness to injure, a harmless baby kitten speaks to two things. It's either a complete disregard for other beings, or it's also just a testament to the intensity of his volatility. He's so enraged and so prone to outwards aggression.
I don't think he'd killed the cat, but he'd clearly been violent towards it.
On February the 1st, 2022, CCTV footage captures Ashley Wadsworth walking barefoot to a neighbour's house, seeking help after being assaulted by Jack Sepple.
Ashley turned up at her door at about 8 o'clock in the morning, clearly very distressed and with an injury, saying that not only had Jack Sepple beaten her up, but they'd acquired a kitten and he'd picked this kitten up and hit it against the wall. The neighbour, quite bravely, I thought, I have to say, went with her back to the house and spoke directly to Jack Sepple, and he was apologetic, said that he would behave from now on and was very sorry for what he'd done. And with that assurance, and because she had a medical appointment, the neighbour then left.
Neighbours will one day tell detectives they have witnessed Jack's violent side before.
She'd had to reprimand Jack Sepple for his behaviour in the past, and particularly in relation to arguments with previous girlfriends. She had a 12-year-old daughter, and the daughter would get upset because of Jack Sepple's conduct, and she said, can you please moderate the way you're behaving, because it's upsetting my daughter.
He was upsetting others too. Evidence in the investigation emerges to help detectives gain a fuller picture of the grim events.
It was nighttime here, like it would have been like, I don't know, like 10 at night or like 12 at night. We were like FaceTiming, and then all of a sudden he just like literally started running at her, and he like pushed her down and started punching her in the head. And then she dropped the phone and it was on like the ground kind of tilted, and I could see her getting punched in the head, and I said, I'm hanging up. I said, I'm calling to get help.
I called her and I said, we're gonna book you a flight. Okay, you're coming home.
Despite the urgency to get home to safety, Ashley is unable to leave immediately due to COVID-19 travel restrictions. In January 2022, strict regulations between the UK and Canada, including multiple negative tests and mandatory quarantine periods, make finding a quick way home all but impossible. In a calculated move, police believe to avoid suspicion, Jack Sepple agrees to help Ashley arrange her COVID test.
I called her and she said, Jack, can you help me, show me where this place is to go get my COVID test? He said, yeah, for sure. I said, okay, so I thought, perfect, he knows, we know now. The neighbor knew at that point. It was like 2 in the morning, I think, our time. If I don't hear from you, if you don't answer, I'm calling the police. So he had heard that. and they both agreed.
When people are leaving violent, abusive scenarios, one of the most dangerous points for them is the moment where they are attempting to leave.
In the early hours of February 1st, while her friends and family in Canada sleep, Ashley, 4,500 miles away in Essex, makes a desperate attempt to raise the alarm.
And you can really feel the desperation in Ashley. She's reaching out to everyone she can think of to try and get a lifeline because she's realized the seriousness of the situation she's in.
Detectives will learn that on the morning of the 1st of February, Ashley has a wider network than Jack Sepple believes.
The 1st of February, it was a Tuesday. So I was driving and we had our data off. A few hours later, we had gone back home and we had turned our Wi-Fi on. We had saw that there was a bunch of texts from a Facebook account that neither of us were friends with. It was really interesting. It was a picture of Jack and Ashley as the profile picture, but it had a name of Jack. And so we were like, this is super weird. All the messages said, hey, it's Ashley, I need your help. This is my address, come pick me up. It's an emergency, like get in contact with me, please. I'm in danger.
Haley woke up.
I got a message from Tiana in the morning saying that Ashley had messaged her. So then I was like, oh my gosh.
I had my phone on Do Not Disturb, so I wouldn't have received like the notification to wake me up. But I had seen I had a message from 3:30 a.m. saying, hey, it's Ashley, help, you know, I need you to contact these sister missionaries in the UK. Tell them to contact me.
So we head over to Ashley's house and we're there and we're knocking on the door, we're calling the accounts, we're telling her like, come outside, we're here. And we knocked on the door, we probably stood there for about 10 minutes calling Ashley, calling the Instagram account, calling the Facebook account, asking her to come outside, telling her that we were here and we were gonna help her. We could hear noises inside, but nobody answered the door. So we walked back to the men that we were with and they told us that if we were really worried that we should call the cops.
At 4:13 p.m, police arrive at the scene.
Police went to the address, and Jack Sepple was lying on the bed next to Ashley's body, talking to his sister on FaceTime.
Jack Sepple has brutally attacked Ashley and video called his sister to tell her what he's done.
The brutality of the force that was used and the degree of force and the number of stab wounds really does make this stand out as one of the more horrific killings I've dealt with. Initially, he was arrested for inflicting grievous bodily harm. Once the full extent of the injuries, the 90-plus stab wounds to the chest and the mark around the neck indicating strangulation were discovered. So as soon as a paramedic had pronounced Ashley dead, then he was rearrested on suspicion of murder.
The police had called me and asked me like what my sister looked like, and like I just said like she had blue eyes and like freckles and brown hair.
And I said her passport's in there, so she has IDs. And she said, I think we have your daughter. I think we found a body. I'm sorry, but it's your daughter.
My mom started screaming, and then like it was just really awful. It was so awful.
I didn't believe it because I couldn't see her. So it was really hard for me to, I kept thinking this, that she was gonna call. Just say, oh God, it was his ex and it's not me. But she never called.
While police forensically examine the scene, the Bishop of the Church of the Latter-day Saints is asked to undertake a heart-rending task.
Following Ashley's death, I was asked to identify Ashley. So I had to go to the chapel arrest in Chelmsford. It's an experience that I've never done before. The police constable was there to ask me some questions, and they just let me know what was going to happen, because it's unusual to see a dead body, and so they prepped me as well as they could.
While her friends in the UK and family in Canada are devastated by events, Jack Sepple is taken for questioning at Chelmsford Police Station. In his first interview with officers, Sepple refuses to explain what has happened to Ashley.
The call to the sister was to tell her what he had done, and he was in the process of doing that when the police arrived and kicked the door open. So he plainly felt the need to unburden himself to somebody, but not the police. And of course, having been arrested and interviewed, he made no comment in interview, so it didn't give the police any information at all about what had happened, why it had happened, what had led up to it, and so forth. And so all of those missing pieces of the jigsaw we had to put into place.
Sepple does say that he wasn't in control of his actions, ceding a potential line of mitigation, potentially reducing the charge from murder to manslaughter.
He claimed to have gone, to use his words, psychotic. Now, psychotic has a very specific meaning, and somebody suffering from psychosis can avail themselves of diminished responsibility as a partial defence. The difficulty with loss of control is there has to be what's called a qualifying trigger. There has to be something that's said or done that sparks the loss of control. And here, if our theory was right, that it was Ashley saying, "I'm leaving you and I'm going back to Canada," that couldn't have been a qualifying trigger, because it has to be something that is perceived as doing a serious wrong to the attacker. And clearly that wouldn't have qualified.
The digital fingerprint Sepple left at the scene suggests someone who is very much in control of his behaviour.
He took a video message of himself with my sister's body and was asking me to forgive him. And he was saying, "Haley, I killed your sister." I just thought, like, what the I'm sorry, I'm swearing, but it's just like, I couldn't believe that. I was like, why would you ever want to contact me?
The police recovered his phone when they searched the house, and they found on it the video clips of him talking to camera with Ashley's body next to him. And of course, from that phone, they were able to recover a number of text messages, Facebook accounts, and so forth. And that was material that we put before the judge because it showed the pattern of behaviour that linked into his previous offending.
Would the discovery of the phone evidence prove to be a killer's mistake, one which will lead to a conviction for murder? Jack Sepple appears at court on the 10th of October 2022. Ashley's family travels from Canada.
We went to the court and we met with her attorney, like, separately before. We had a meeting room, a little waiting room, and then we went in, and that's the first time I seen him in person. And I stared at him a little, and he just kept staring at me.
Despite the brutality of the crime, Jack Sepple could face a more lenient punishment if a psychiatric report suggests he acted with diminished responsibility.
When you prosecute a murder case, and the defence, you know they've got a psychiatric report, but they don't serve it, that speaks volumes. It tells you that, first of all, the psychiatrist doesn't believe there's a defence of diminished responsibility, but also, quite often, a psychiatrist, particularly in a case of domestic violence, will make some quite damaging comments about the nature of the defendant himself and about his coercive and controlling behaviour.
The psychiatric report confirms Jack Sepple was in full control of his actions. He is not psychotic, as he's tried to claim. He decides now to plead guilty to the murder of Ashley.
The sentencing judge described Jack Sepple as a dangerous individual and imposed a minimum term to serve of 23.5 years.
I was glad that there was no big trial. I was glad that he did get life. I mean, I'll be 67 by the time he's out, and I don't live there, thank God.
The degree of injury, the strangulation coupled with stabbing, and the huge number of stab wounds that he inflicted, plus, of course, his history, all led to the judge saying he was a highly dangerous individual. Personally, I think it's highly unlikely that the parole board will consider him eligible for parole until many years after he served his minimum term.
To have left a trail of evidence of his violence, controlling nature and abuse, evidence like recorded threats and anger, was a big mistake in avoiding a murder conviction.
There was multiple girls that he was infatuated with, that he had stalking behavior, violent episodes, his mental health, like all of this. I'm still learning stuff today.
It definitely makes you think twice about everything and rethink everything he might have said or she had said. Like, was this his whole plan all along? Like, who knows? It's such a crazy reaction. That's not normal to do that. It's not normal to take somebody's life for whatever reason.
Apart from his initial disproven claim of being psychotic, Sepple has never explained why he brutally abused Ashley over a period of months before killing her.
So we had to draw the conclusion from the fact that the timing of the booking of the flight, they were very close in time, and obviously she must have said to him at some stage, "I'm leaving you."
For those left behind, some consolation from their faith.
I thank God for my religion, and I thank God every day that I'm going to see her again. And may not be in obviously in this life, but I know I'll see her again. I know her spirit's here, and I know she's guiding us. I feel her strength. Going to England, I'm not a traveler. Like, all of that was so hard for me, and I felt her pushing me on, and I feel her around me all the time.
And in our faith, we know that life does not end after we die, that our spirits live on forever and ever. And that's actually a scripture that we read at her vigil.
When Jack Sepple ended the life of his girlfriend Ashley Wadsworth, he underestimated the strength of her community, one determined to hold him accountable for his horrific crime. Now, as he serves a 23-year prison sentence, those critical moments and missteps that ultimately led to his conviction are clear.
He was clearly highly disturbed at the time. That's apparent from the short video clip he made of himself after the event. Not disturbed enough to give him a medical defense, but he was clearly very exercised and very disturbed. And that was material that we put before the judge.
Leaving behind a trail of evidence, his violence, controlling nature and abuse was clear for all to see. Recorded threats and outbursts of anger became the undeniable proof that sealed his fate. In a relationship that began online, it was the very digital footprint that he left behind which ultimately proved to be a killer's mistake.